Why do giant sharks gather and do a circle dance? What unusual ways do seals use to attract females? And what are the deep-sea fish ready to do for love? You'll find it out now. In this episode, you'll see the strangest mating rituals of sea animals. Let's go! Argonaut octopus. The cephalopod of this unusual genus lives in the surface water of the world ocean in the tropical and subtropical belts. It feeds mainly on other cephalopods, but this is not so interesting because these facts pale against the fact that this creature has as many as 3 hearts. Its mouth is located in the area of its butt, and taste buds are in the area of the heels. Did you think that was it? Well, not at all. The Argonaut octopus can also surprise us with its way of reproduction. But let's talk about everything in order. To begin with, octopuses live solitary lives. Only once, by the call of nature, males begin to gather in consortiums to fulfill their male duty. By that time, matured males develop spermatophores with semen in the front part of the mantle, where a land animal would have a nose. During the mating season, the spermatophores are carried out through a funnel together with water jets. The mating process can last quite a long time, until the female's not bored. The male's strength also never runs out. The Argonaut differs from ordinary octopuses. In its case, there is a real long-distance relationship. Interestingly, many people are sure that it doesn't exist. The male, which is many times smaller than the female, grows its sex organ over the course of its life. As soon as it reaches the peak of its development, it falls off and swims off in search of a lady. In the depths of the sea, it stumbles upon a suitable female, and the female takes it with it. The owner has only to watch from the side as its ex-friend penetrates into the mantle cavity of the lady, where spermatophores burst and the liquid from them fertilizes the eggs. After that, the female will watch the younger generation for a long time, and when the young octopuses hatch, it will die of exhaustion. The male will not be upset, and in general, little changes for it. During this time, it manages to grow a new organ for the next relationship. Deep-sea angler. In the case of the Argonaut octopus, the relationship between male and female practically doesn't exist at all. Many wouldn't even call it such, which is not the case with the deep-sea angler. These creatures are the embodiment of fidelity because they literally merge into a single organism with their other half. It's worth starting with the fact that these deep-sea fish are very dangerous. At least they seem so, and there's a reason for that. The ubiquitous outgrowths, creepy spikes, and this rod on the forehead which lights up, attracting prey or fades, allowing the deep-sea angler to hide in the depths. I'm not even talking about its teeth. This fish is clearly not friends with the dentist. Its teeth are all crooked, sharp, and long. In general, nature has tried its best. It made the creature a full-fledged monster of the depths, not ready to let the prey go from its tenacious jaws. At the same time, the giant fish grows up to 5 feet in length. Can you even imagine that? By the way, sea devils, as they're also called, have evolved, and some of their species have even learned to hide their fishing rod, or rather retract it into a special channel on their back, like an antenna on a car. Who knows what else these ugly creatures will learn, or have already learned, but for now we're interested in their reproduction. Here it's important to note that females are much larger than males. For comparison, if the female is about 3.2 feet long, the size of the male is just about a couple of inches. But it doesn't need more than that. It's ready to cling to the lady of its heart and never let it go. It's ready to merge with it, becoming a single organism, or parasitize it. Choose an expression that seems more appropriate to you. The male says goodbye to its individuality forever. Its organs disappear. Its circulatory system completely merges with the female's body. It even eats nutrients that its beloved carefully supplies it. It pays for all of this with its semen. There can be up to 4 such freeloaders on the body of a strong and independent fish. Their only task is to fertilize eggs qualitatively during the mating season. There can be several million eggs, so the males have a lot of work to do. I'm sure that among my viewers there are many who have seen the Finding Nemo animated movie. The movie's stored in our memory as something kind and instructive. But believe me, in a few minutes it will not be the same for you. It's all about clownfish. Their life is filled with different interesting twists and turns, but we're especially interested in the process of reproduction. It's important to note that these fish can be both males and females. I mean, initially a fish can be born a male and live happily ever after. Do not know the problems, do not care about anyone. Then it sets up a house, finds a mate, and begins to take care of offspring. And then there comes a moment in the male's life when everything turns upside down and it becomes female. But how is this possible, and what are the reasons for it? Scientists have been pondering for a long time. Turns out it's quite simple. The male's body makes it clear that it can't cope with maternal duties, and if the female dies, it's time to replace it. Choosing another female is not the clownfish sort of thing, so the male transforms, just like the Hulk, only not into a stronger male, but into a sweet and gentle lady. The clownfish transforms its body for spawning and continues to take care of offspring. But this isn't all. These fish quite often live in families. More precisely, they live in groups where there is a huge amount of abuse. The dominant pair holds the other inhabitants of the group, forbidding them to reproduce. These are the spare males. They're needed just in case the main one becomes a female. Then they'll be promoted. Now, knowing all these facts, it will not be difficult to compare the plot of the animated movie and understand who replaced whom. Flatworm fencing. The next creatures which will be discussed are hermaphrodites, like clownfish, that is. They have both male and female organs. These very sharp swords, as you can guess, are the male sex organs, and they're called swords for a reason. The flatworms meet another individual somewhere on the bottom and begin to fight with it. The aim of the fight is to pierce the opponent with the sword and fertilize it. But that's not easy to do because the body of these worms is very flexible and has no bones. In short, the strongest wins. The idea of the fight is that the loser will take the place of the female and go quietly to carry offspring and then take care of it. The winner, that is the male, will go about its business without any worries and will soon find a new opponent to sort things out. However, it's often impossible to identify the winner, and both fighters begin to carry offspring. But this is a different story. Sea angels. If you thought that angels were only to be found somewhere up in the sky, then it's quite possible that you should reconsider your views on life. Turns out they live underwater too. Canonically, sea angels hunt sea devils exclusively. And if in pictures they seem to be the sweetest and kindest creatures ever, when it comes to battles, everything changes dramatically. This creature turns from an angel into a hellish monster. Its head splits in two, and 3 tentacles come out of each half. It's with them that it grabs the terrified sea devil. These creatures hunt evil cephalopods, and their babies grow up exactly the same. By the way, like penis-fencing flatworms, sea angels can be both males and females. Only in this case, no one pierces each other with anything. Circle dance. In fact, strange mating rituals are not only found among strange creatures. Take sharks, for example. Not so long ago, scientists discovered that periodically, the giant predators do full-fledged circle dances. They consist of an approximately equal number of adult males and females which swim in a circle with closed mouths. In other words, their behavior is not related to feeding. Some individuals flip upside down with their belly up. It's believed that this indicates their readiness for mating. Probably this behavior in sharks can be called a speed dating. Several fish from all the surroundings get together, which gives them the opportunity to assess a lot of potential partners in a short time. Hooded seal. Well, since we touched on the topic of classic creatures, let's take a look at seals, but not just any seals, but hooded seals. These mammals stand out from the background thanks to this strange red ball. Believe me, if you saw them inflate in person, you'd never forget it. An otherworldly trumpet howl would be buzzing in all directions. This ball on the nose is a modified nasal septum. During the mating season, males close the exit hole, which makes their muzzle inflate like a balloon. Of course, this is done only to attract the attention of females. Which ball it likes better, it will choose as its permanent mate. Out of the Pride. Pride is a family group of lions. They, just like all other communities, have their own laws, rules of conduct, and principles. I can talk about their hunting for a long time, but today we have a slightly different topic in this episode. We're more interested in mating, or rather the breeding season of the animals. while in lions it's quite curious. If there's some kind of bond between the creatures, they leave their pride for a while, like for 5 days or a week. They go to a much more secluded place where they can relax from the hustle and bustle and enjoy an intimate atmosphere. At this time, the lions are maximally focused on each other. They are literally inseparable and will do everything to maintain this union. By the way, this period is also characterized by enormous aggression of the animals towards others. If for some reason in this honeymoon period a stranger comes to visit the lions, it should not expect any mercy. By the way, that's exactly what happened in this photo, where a lion caught an annoying cheetah and quickly dealt with it. Let's not talk about the bad things. Let's talk about how many times lions can mate in a day. Well, about 70 times. The whole thing is that the recovery period between mating is about 20 minutes. Usually, everything happens quietly and quickly, except when the ecstatic male starts growling and rubbing the lioness by the scruff of the neck. In these moments, the lion can sometimes misjudge its bite force and, in the heat of passion, accidentally finish off its girlfriend. Yeah, that happens too. Do you know anything about hornbills? No? You should know because these animals have an insanely colorful appearance, as well as no less curious mating rituals. When their love period just begins, the male, just like humans, is looking for a home. Males have to look for a really long time because their females are quite demanding and capricious. However, it doesn't take long to expect a reward in the case of a suitable living space found. If the female likes the apartment, then near this place the loving couple intimately spends some time away from prying eyes. The next stage in the female's life will be to move to the hollow found by the male and lay the eggs there. As for the male, at the same time, it tries to protect its mate from problems as much as possible, literally and figuratively. Our hero builds a passage to the nest. Clay, or a glue-like mixture made out of food scraps, droppings, and feathers, is used as a building material. The male barricades it so that there's still a small hole through which air can pass. The female will remain in this confinement until the chicks are born, and for several weeks thereafter. In short, they're quarantined. I came to sing you a song. This is how I imagine the behavior of fruit flies after learning about their curious mating ritual. As it turns out, male fruit flies have their own courtship ritual. Male and female have to perform a coordinated sequence of actions, and if the male attracts the female in the process, it's lucky and the courtship ends in copulation. I could talk about all the elements of the ritual for a long time, but I want to single out one of them in particular, which is, in my opinion, the most curious. I'm talking about the calling song of the male. To sing it properly, it needs to take the wing away and make a certain series of vibrations with it. This song consists of different components which alternate and have a characteristic pattern for each species. Scientists used to think that these insect songs were completely instinctive and didn't depend on anything at all, but as recent experiments have shown, this is not the case. It turned out that, for example, the male always begins its greeting with a loud call. If, in response, the female slows down, the male switches to an alternate signal and then repeats the reprise. And the slower the female runs, the more persistently it performs its rondo. As the distance between male and female decreases, the alternation of sinus and pulses becomes more frequent. If female tries to move away from the male, it tries to catch up with it and speeds up. In accordance with this, its song also changes. It quickly switches to a sinusoidal call. It seems as if it's shouting after it, "Wait!" leaving an impulsive, decisive, "Here I am, baby." If this call doesn't stop the male stops singing altogether. Lyrebird. If any of you happen to be in the forests of Australia and hear the approaching sound of a chainsaw behind you, don't be alarmed. It's very likely that it's not someone wanting to kill you. It's just a lyrebird decided to have some fun. This bird, in case you don't know, is probably the best sound impersonator on the planet. Parrots are no match. Especially the lyrebird likes to repeat the sounds of the already mentioned by me chainsaw, hammering, car alarms, camera shutter, and of course human speech. While songbirds have 4 pairs of muscles, which are responsible for the tension of membranes, the lyrebird has only 3. It's only unclear how this simplification helps the lyrebird to be so successful on the wild stage. However, apart from this, the lyrebird is also distinguished by its great tail resembling a lyre, for which it got its name. Not every bird has such a tail. Only males have it, and it's necessary for them to attract females with it. But this is not the only thing that the female is immediately ready to buy into. In addition to the lush tail, the female needs to be surprised with something else. For example, at the beginning of the mating season, lyrebirds choose their spots in the forest and prepare them for the ceremony. With their strong legs, they clear the site and gather fallen leaves in a pile in the center, creating a kind of stage. The female invited to such a fantastic place, of course, cannot resist. The mating games have begun. Now it's just a matter of a puffy tail and bright singing. As you understand, the lion's share of success is the second component. Lyrebirds sing so skillfully that in most cases the birds they imitate respond to their calls. Stalking isn't always a bad thing. I say this about aquatic mammals, or to be more precise, about dolphins. Stalking is what they do during their mating season. The male thus tries to show its interest in the female. It constantly catches up with it, snuggles up to it, and sometimes even bites it. However, of course, it doesn't want to do any harm to it. Dolphins only swim side by side and show each other their strength, agility, and endurance. They touch each other with their fins, heads, and noses. If, at this time, a strange male appears on the horizon, claiming a female, the groom drives it away, fiercely snapping its teeth. That's right, let the stranger not prevent them to stroke each other's front fins, which they love to do. Of course, if they're only swimming next to each other, the story would not be so cinematic and beautiful. But dolphins have another interesting ritual. During courtship, the male may give the female small gifts, which are bouquets of algae, coral pieces, or beautiful underwater pebbles. What matters is not the type and taste of the gift, but the courtship ritual itself. The bride that receives a gift does not part with it for some time, carries it with it. If other male dolphins come to it with gifts, the groom will start driving them away and a fight can ensue. So what do you think of this romantic behavior of these creatures? Write in the comments. It's not only dolphins that behave interestingly on the water, there are also such creatures as pond skaters. These guys are distinguished by the ability to transmit signals by small waves. And guess what? Do you know how the males take advantage of this ability? They come to the females and make them choose. If for some reason the female doesn't want to mate with that male, the male causes waves. Kicks on the water are needed not to show their discontent, but to attract predators. As a rule, with this strategy, the female's resistance time is greatly reduced, since it will be the first prey of the predator swimming in from below. Cruel. Hippos. While some creatures on our planet are so light that they can stand on water and don't fall into it, others would like to stand on the ground so that they don't fall through it. I'm talking about hippos, large and strong animals that are known to humans for many things, but just not for their mating games. And these games, by the way, are very original. The most important question in these games will be which male will get the opportunity to mate with a particular female. The males will not hit, kick, or bite each other to sort out their relationship. They're cultured guys, aren't they? They like to stand in front of each other, turn their backs to each other, as required by the rules of conduct, and begin to defecate heavily. An important point, during this process, males also twist their tails so hard and fast as if they're trying to take off. This is done to maximize litter spread. The winner is the male that fertilized the territory the most. Well, if both males fertilize the territory in the same way, then they show each other their fangs, and then they ram each other, opening their mouths. From the mating rituals, let's move on to the next stage, motherhood. Next, I'll show you what animals are ready to do to protect their babies. In this footage, we see a kitten and a mother cat fighting with a monkey. Apparently, the primate wanted to hurt the kitten, so the cat just couldn't stand by. There's no way it would let its baby get hurt. And here, the opponent is much more serious. There are still very tiny kittens sleeping in this box. You can't even see them. This cat's maternal instinct is in full swing, so no wonder it so dashingly fights back the dangerous cobra and protects itself and its offspring. Although, who am I kidding? It's a real wonder. Paw strikes look incredible. Several dogs attacked the young cat. They, like street thugs, attacked in group and began to corner the cat. Of course, they succeeded. The little creature couldn't resist them. Luckily for it, at the very last moment, its mother came running. The cat quickly dispersed the dogs and saved its baby. Sometimes one has to protect the babies from congeners. Here's a strange cat was sniffing a black kitten. At first, the kitten was just uncomfortable, and then it got really scared. The mother immediately stood up for its baby. It hissed, took a swing at the stranger, and chased it away. Okay, and what about a more serious opponent? For example, the Komodo dragon, the largest lizard on the planet. It's the one now planning to storm the house of its wild cat and its kittens. The cat meows, but instead of attacking the monitor lizard or protecting its babies, it simply runs away. Luckily, the lizard turned out not to be aggressive. Well, or it had spent all of its energy on the pounce, so it just sat in the kitten's burrow for a while. In the wild, everything happens in a matter of seconds. Here, the female buffalo and its calf are having a quiet time, but here the calf is already being attacked by a leopard from an ambush. But the female reacts quickly. As soon as the leopard grabs the baby, the buffalo attacks it and butts it. It literally crushed the spotted cat and saved its baby. The leopard will have to look for other food. And again, buffaloes are here. We see a calf that moos and calls someone. Most likely it calls its mother because the baby lost it and now is all alone in a strange area. As if that wasn't enough, the lioness also appeared as if out of nowhere. Seems that we should expect massacre, but suddenly, just as if out of nowhere, the mother of the baby flies out. The female frightens the lioness and protects the calf. Next, we take a look at the bird showdown. There was a fight between crows and a family of ducks in some parking lot. Crows often have their eyes on ducklings, and this case was no exception. The cunning crow tried to get close to the chicks and thought that its relative would support it, but nothing happened. It never intervened, and the mother duck didn't allow the black threat to get to the chicks. There are different ways to protect. Some protect their babies from predators or other dangerous animals, while others protect them from rain. Look at how this chicken covers its chicks with its wings so they don't get wet. Sounds like the real mother of the year to me. Well, among chickens, of course. We see the leopard, one of the most dangerous animals on the planet, in action. The predator tracked down a baby warthog and easily caught up with it. The big cat didn't even try very hard and didn't run at full strength. It knocked the African hog down and grabbed it with its teeth in a jiffy, then ran back. But suddenly it gave up the easy prey and changed direction. Now it was the leopard that was being chased. The female warthog saw this cruelty and decided to teach the leopard a lesson. The leopard had to run for it. On the way, it managed to grab some more prey, but it spit it out too. This footage is a rare case where you can see a kind and caring crocodile. Well, how else could it be? This is a female crocodile which has laid its eggs and is now guarding them very carefully. It has something to be afraid of. The eggs are claimed by a big monitor lizard. At first, a single monitor lizard approaches the clutch, but the crocodile reacts quickly, turns around and frightens the reptile. Now the female has to somehow chase the intruders away. At first, the crocodile just lays there, but then began to get closer to the lizards. The female managed to drive the threat away, but it completely forgot about the clutch. While it was dealing with two of the lizards, a third came in. It had no trouble getting the egg and left with it. It may seem that in this footage we see a fight between congeners, hyenas. In fact, the hyenas on the left are confronted by African wild dogs. When they get together in a pack, they become Africa's best hunters. Such a gang is hard to deal with, but the mother hyena has nowhere to go. It needs to protect its cubs. One of them hides in a pit, and the other is with the mother. The female hyena drives the predators away and doesn't let them hurt itself or its cub. Fortunately for the hyenas, the tense situation lasted only a couple of minutes. After that, the African wild dogs left. A rhino is standing by a pond, quenching its thirst, when suddenly two more rhinos appear from behind. It's a female with its calf. They're also thirsty and have come to quench their thirst. But the male rhino doesn't let them do so. At first, it was just running along the shore and growling. But then it started walking by the pond. The female understood that a conflict is brewing, and it's the first to show aggression to protect its baby. The first round ends in a draw. The adult giants simply had kind of a stare down. The second round turned out to be about the same. And the third time the male attacks, but the female puts out its horn and the male stops. The fourth attack is similar. Are they just going to run around all day? Of course not. A real battle ensues. The female and the male butt. The female runs a lap of honor and rushes to the baby. Then it attacks the aggressive male and pounces on it. After about 10 seconds, it rushes back to the male, and it was already afraid of the female. At last, they parted. The female and its calf will have to look for another body of water. But the main thing is that the threat is eliminated. Animals do not always have to protect their offspring from other animals. Sometimes they have to protect them even from people. In this footage, we see a pig mom protecting its piglets in a corner. Of course, the girl doesn't wish to harm them, but only wants to check their reaction. But the pig doesn't understand this. As soon as the girl approaches, the pig snorts and grunts angrily. Soon, everything repeats itself, and the third time the pig snorted so loudly and unexpectedly that it seriously scared the girl. The piglets can sleep peacefully with such a mother. And again, we have a video featuring people. This time they didn't even provoke anyone and didn't check for reactions. They just drove along the road, near which a female bear was running. It took the car as a threat and rushed toward it without a second thought to protect its cubs. It even almost caught up with the vehicle, but of course the car was faster than the predator. Luckily for the humans. And yet, bears are much more interested in other animals than humans, let alone cars that they don't understand. In this footage, taken in Alaska, we see a family of moose. They're walking peacefully through the national park and have no idea that a grizzly bear is following them. The bear's already running after them and is about to pounce on the moose calves that are walking behind the mother. But the female moose notices everything. It turns around, the grizzly bear stops, pretends it has no bad intentions, and then runs away from the moose. But of course, it was a deceptive maneuver. It's not going anywhere until it gets what it wants. It continues stalking the moose, and every time the female turns around, it pretends that it's just minding its own business and ended up here accidentally. Apparently, the grizzly bear decided to wear out the family and hoped that sooner or later the moose would relax. It followed the animals right up to the entrance of the park where there was concrete, but the moose didn't let its guard down. It understood everything perfectly and saw that the bear was hunting its calves. Its maternal instinct didn't fail it. That day, it protected its calves and left the bear with nothing. Next, we have the largest land animal on the planet. The elephant family had to cross through the territory of wild dogs, but they couldn't help but have their eyes on the baby elephant. The mother had to act decisively. It dispersed the dogs, which growled in unison. Of course, it wasn't the end. The dogs only retreated but still tried to sneak attack the baby elephant. And then the scenario was the same as in the case of the moose and the bear. The mother periodically turned around, scared the wild dogs, and so gradually the elephants overcame the dangerous area and reunited with their relatives by the tree. This female hippo recently had a beautiful baby. It carried the baby for 8 months and is now with it all the time, so that no one dares to hunt it. Its maternal instincts are now at the breaking point, so it aggressively chases away even a congener that's just come to meet the baby. In fact, hippos often figure things out with each other. This includes both males, fighting over females, and babies which decide to attack the young. In this footage, the male literally made an attempt on the baby's life. It bit the baby painfully. The calf tried to swim away to the shore, but the male caught up with it. A little more and the baby hippo would have been dead, but at the very last moment, its mother boldly stood up for it. The danger was over. That's all, guys. Which moment surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, and see you later.